Hello, I'm back. Well, today I wanted to talk about some stereotypes about INFPs that are not really true. Um, every personality type is kind of broken down into these basic qualities that are true, but sometimes like they can easily take on or easily become stereotypes that are just a little bit too generalized because everyone's different, even within the parameters of a specific personality type. You still have individuals with different preferences and different cultures that contribute to their personalities and their tendencies. So, yeah, just want to talk about some things that are not really true about INFPs, but are widely believed. One of those things, the first one of the four, is that we are illogical. People just, I hear this so often that INFPs are illogical. Well, the word illogical means lacking sense or clear, sound reasoning. So that means when someone is illogical, they don't have the ability to think things through in a realistic way. Like, for example, if they were really, really hungry, but they had no food in their refrigerator and no money to buy food, someone who's illogical would be like, okay, I'm hungry, and then go outside, grab a fistful of dirt, and start eating it. Not very logical because they're probably going to throw it up and then they still won't be full and they'll be sick. So, INFPs are not like that. What we might do in that very same situation is we would think, okay, what are my options? I don't have money to buy food. I don't have food in the refrigerator. What do I do? What did I do last time? And you might think, okay, I asked a friend if I could have some food. But then that friend like gave me a dirty look and rolled their eyes and started, fussing at me about not managing my money. And it made me feel horrible. I don't want to feel that way again. So no, ain't doing that. My other option is I could go to a food bank and stand in line for a couple of hours because that's what happened before and I was really pissed off. And by the time it was almost my turn to get the food, they ran out and I was so angry. I don't want to feel that way again. So I can't do that either. What's a creative thing to do? And then you might come up with something like maybe you would go to a consignment store and sell some of your clothes to get some extra cash and use the cash to buy some food, or like I don't know, have an impromptu garage sale and use that cash to buy food. And those two, so that example tells you how or illustrates how an INFP thinks. The options that this INFP came up with were pretty creative, and I don't think the average person would choose uh, those avenues of getting money for food at the last minute because it's kind of hard to set up a garage sale. Like that's that's a roundabout way of getting a couple dollars for some food. But it is something I would do as an INFP, and I have done stuff like that before. And the reason that we got to that decision is the INFP went through their emotions. Their emotions based on what happened to them in the past. We have a tendency to steer our ship um, based on the waters behind us and how we felt about those waters. So every decision we make, we're usually like, okay, when I chose to do this last time, I felt this way. Do I want to feel that way again? Yeah, okay, then I'll do that again. A lot of other types, personality types, don't think that way. They don't necessarily dwell in the past so much to help them make decisions about the future. Also, they're not as consumed by their feelings as we are. We are so emotional. Like everything we experience is a really big deal internally. So that's why we're so guided by our emotions because it's our whole universe. It's the air we breathe. So it makes sense that we think this way. We base all of our decisions on our ability to quote unquote breathe, our emotional well being. So we're definitely not illogical. We are just functioning in the brain that we've been created with or given. So, yeah, we're not illogical. We're a little weird, but we're not illogical. Um, a second common misconception or stereotype is that we don't like to socialize. Okay, this is a tricky one. That's almost true, almost, but not really. I like socializing. I am an introvert, so I love being alone. Um, I prefer it actually, but I also really enjoy socializing. What I don't like is getting hurt by people. And that's the thing. Remember how we just talked about how INFPs steer their ship based on the waters behind them? So I'll put it this way, like the further you go back in like my history, when I was a teenager and little kid, I was super friendly to everyone. I was still quiet and reserved, but I loved everybody. Like I wanted everyone to be my friend, as quiet as I was. So a conversation with one person was like my opportunity to be friends with them, and it was a really big deal. And I wear my heart on my sleeve. And over the years, I kept getting, hurt because that's what happens when you interact with people. Sometimes you get along with some of them, sometimes you don't get along with people. But I didn't know that. I just liked people. But after getting hurt over and over and over again and in worse ways over the years, now at my age, I'm like, okay, no. I will just love people from afar. And then once I've observed them enough to know that they are safe, then we can really be friends. So I think a lot of INFPs probably have that same tendency to be a little bit quieter, um, and maybe come across as a bit standoffish, not because they don't like people or don't want to socialize, but because, again, we base everything on our feelings and we're scared of getting our feelings hurt. So we wait until we know a person or a social situation with people will be safe for us, and then we'll jump in and we'll have lots of fun. So, yeah, we're so complicated. Every personality type is complicated. It's just that I think because there are not a whole lot of us in the world, INFPs and INFJs, um, we get misunderstood because we have a way of thinking that is not popular. Okay, a third stereotype is that INFPs put the people they like or care about on pedestals, that we are unrealistic about the people who we love. If you go to almost any personality profile page about INFPs, it will say something like, on a romantic level, INFPs are always waiting for their Prince Charming, who they want to be perfect, something like that. Again, that some of that might seem true, but it's not really when you go below the surface. The thing is, it all goes back to us being so emotional. We, when we fall in love, we fall hard. When we get hurt so bad, it's horrible. It's really horrible. Everything's a big deal. So when we see a sunset, we're like, oh my God, it's the most beautiful sunset ever. It's so gorgeous. Yes, there's a little splotch of pollution right there, but that's okay because as a whole, the sunset's so gorgeous and we might cry about it or something. That's your INFP. Now you take those same big emotions and put them into what happens when an INFP meets someone who they really like. They're like, oh my God, this person is so great. They're like super friendly and charming, and they always see the positive in everything, and they're a great cook. The list goes on and on and on, blah, blah, blah. But that does not mean that the INFP doesn't also notice that this person, doesn't like trim their nose hair or is I don't know, too skinny. That's mean, but yeah, we notice stuff. It's just that, just like with the beautiful sunset, with the little splash of pollution, but who cares about that? We tend to act like or feel as though the good outweighs the bad most of the time. If it's just a little something, everybody has something wrong with them. But we really do love the people who we love, but we do notice their flaws. Um, it's just that a lot of judging types, when they hear us talk about the people who we care about, they're like, oh my God, you are like so unrealistic. He's not that great. But to us, he is because we see all those positive qualities and they mean more to us than the negative qualities. That's just the way it is. Like, there are people who I am no longer, um, who I've kind of like in typical INFP fashion. This is a stereotype that's true, that we cut people out of our lives when something bad happens. That is very true. There are people who I have cut out of my life now. It sounds horrible to say, but who I still look back on fondly because I always realized that they had these bad qualities. It's not that I didn't see them. It's just that I appreciated their good qualities more. But when those bad qualities were used to hurt me, then I was like, okay, we can't do this anymore. Sorry. I never told them that. I was just like, done. But I still look back on them fondly and I still admire them for their good qualities. So I think a lot of us are like that. We see the good and it really, really, really stands out to us and we really fall in love with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It does not mean we're unrealistic or that we literally think someone is Prince Charming. We just like people and beautiful things. That's all. The fourth, I think we're on number four. Yeah. Sorry, I had to look at my notes for a second. The fourth stereotype is that INFPs are passive aggressive. And I can understand why people think this because when we have like an argument with someone, or yeah, maybe a little argument, or something bad happens between us and someone else, our first instinct is to just get really quiet. After it happens, we get really quiet and we kind of avoid them. And a lot of times that person will think that we are being passive aggressive, like we're trying to give them the silent treatment to hurt them. That's not what's happening. That's not. At least I don't think it is with most INFPs. From my personal experience and a couple of other INFPs who I've spoken to about this, what happens is we get confused. Like, especially if it's an argument with someone who we care about. That does confuse me because I'm not used to being angry at them, and all of a sudden I'm angry. So it makes me question myself, like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. Should I be angry or am I overreacting? And have to think about that for like a week. And then after that, after, if I feel like, okay, I do have a right to be angry, I should be angry, it's okay. So what do I do now? Do I talk to them about it or do I just let it go? Can I let it go? I'm just like wrestling with all of this. And in the meantime, I'm still really angry at them. So I'm afraid that if I do talk to them, I'm going to start yelling at them. And I don't want to yell at them because I still like them. And that's mean to yell at anybody. So usually I just try and avoid them and like keep to myself. And that's not great, but that is what's happening internally. It is the INFP being super slow to come to to process what they're feeling and to come to a decision about what step to take next. And it gets in the way of a lot of relationships, to be honest, because we're not being forthcoming, we're keeping everything inside. So that's something that we should probably work on, or at least I need to work on. I'm saying this like everybody has the same problem, but I know it's something that I need to work on, like being more open about how I'm feeling in the moment instead of being so afraid to hurt someone's feelings. Sometimes we can hurt someone's feelings more by not opening up. And that's definitely, I'm so guilty of that. So guilty of that in the past. Um, so, yeah. So, those are just some stereotypes that aren't really true about INFPs. It's very easy to make judgments, snap judgments about people based on surface behavior, but you really have to look deeper and really question why people do what they do. And that goes not just for INFPs, but every personality type. We're all very complicated and we all deserve to be analyzed to death. That sounded really grim. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Whoops. And I will see you next time. Bye.